Okay.
Dog out in between meetings, and it's
they
like
do not hear us.
stifling.
Are we set to get any weather tonight, or haven't they?
Can you guys hear us right now?
It just has that storm risk is increased for the next 24 hours kind of thing. You know, I don't. I'm not
Nothing
sure.
big.
Okay, there's a bunch of people
Yeah,
that
it's cool.
are logged
Yeah.
into this meeting, and they're
Go ahead,
not
It's a
Ben.
cool
hearing
radio program.
anything.
There's storms all around us. We just don't have any right now.
Okay, can you guys now hear me? We're having technical difficulties and we can hear you, but you can't hear us.
It's a bad echo.
Can you guys hear us now?
They're not hearing us.
We can hear you.
I can hear you, but the echo is bad.
No, I
hear you.
I used
You
my
sound fine now.
computer microphone briefly because you weren't hearing me through the regular one, but now you hear me? I was talking to you and you were talking about the weather. I will start over. I'm going to call to order the City Council meeting of Monday, July 6, 2020. And we have in our audience Al Vanderland. He is a Prairie Lakes Pastoral Care volunteer, and he will be leading us in a prayer. So please rise and fold your hands.
Whenever you attend a meeting at the City Council, you need to ask yourself, am I creating an atmosphere of caring and godly leadership for the people I serve? You need to do everything in love when making your decisions. 1 Corinthians 12:31 tells us a more excellent way in leadership. The right atmosphere in leadership is a caring atmosphere. It must be created before you have very much influence upon your constituents. People will accept your leadership if they know you love the Lord and care for their well-being and have made educated decisions. God has called and chosen you to be in leadership at this time in Watertown's life. God has called you for this glory, His glory, and purpose. With prayer and God's leadership, you will fulfill His call in your decisions. Someday you will hear God say to you, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Let each of us take your position seriously. Each of you should rely on God's direction in your votes through prayer. All decision makers need to take personal responsibility when you vote on city business. So let us pray. Dear Father, I thank you for choosing each one of you to make decisions for our city. Lead each of you as you make these decisions that are made this evening. Help all to make these decisions out of the best possible information you have acquired to do the very best for Watertown. Help us do it out of love and not selfish desire. We pray this all in the name of our Savior, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you very much. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Al, you can use that door. It leads to the outside.
I'll push this and shut it off here.
Thank you. All right, roll call, please, Kristen.
Albertson,
Here.
Bueller,
Here.
Hoyer,
Here.
Pauline,
Here.
Lallam,
Here.
Manti,
Here.
Rademski,
Here.
Roby,
Here.
Vilhauer,
Here.
Y.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the first item on the agenda is the consent agenda approval. And before we do that, I need to pull item D off and move it to the regular agenda. And that's the golf course bids, which we discussed in the Public Works Committee. And then I want to add the authorization for the mayor to sign the amendment and all applicable documents to the South Dakota Department of Transportation, SDDOT, agreement number 511739 for right-of-way procurement associated with the Highway 212 Phase 2 reconstruction project. This was discussed and recommended by the Public Works Committee. And with those two changes, do we have a motion to approve? Have a motion
Second.
by Hoyer, or was it Rademski?
Rademski.
Rademski, and a second by Lallam. Any discussion?
Question, where are we putting that item D?
I will put that item D all the way at the end
Okay,
of the regular agenda.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please, Kristen.
Albertson,
Aye.
Euler,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Manti,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
Y.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the public comments, and this is the time reserved for anyone who would like to make a public comment to do so. If you are online or on the call, please state your name and say request permission to speak. Is there anyone here who would like to speak? All right, seeing no one, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. And now I need to move item D, so that's back at all the way at the bottom. Item D from the consent agenda has been moved on to this. So it will be approved with that change.
So moved.
Motion by Vilhauer, second by Lallam. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please, Kristen.
Albertson,
Aye.
Euler,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Manti,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
Y.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. The next item is election of officers, and I want to explain how we're going to do this tonight, since this is the first time this has ever been done with a majority of the council participating electronically. I will ask those who are participating electronically to text me your vote, and I will tally them, and the other members who are present will fill out on a sheet of paper and give me their votes, and I will tally them. So that's how we'll be doing this tonight. We have election of officers, and I know that the council president wanted the opportunity to speak, so go ahead, Glenn.
I nominate Adam Lallam for president.
Okay, we have a nomination for Councilman Lallam for president. Are there any other nominations?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman
I
Hoyer.
nominate Councilman Vilhauer for president.
Thank you. We have Lallam and Vilhauer now. Are there any other nominations?
Do we need a second on this, or is it just a nomination, or?
I asked Matt about that before the meeting, Adam, and he said he did not think we did, but I'll defer to what Matt has to say.
No, you can take a second if you'd like, but seconds aren't needed for these nominations.
Thank you. Let's keep it simple. We have 2 nominations for president. Are there any other nominations? Okay, then we will go ahead and vote. Please text me your vote if you are remote. Otherwise, a vote for either Vilhauer or Lallam, and hand me your paper if you're in the room. Okay, the votes are in. Councilman Lallam is the president. And now I will take nominations for council vice president.
Mayor, this is Don.
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Councilman Holeen.
Councilman Holeen has been nominated for vice president. Are there other nominations? Councilman Hoyer?
I'd like to nominate Councilman Vilhauer.
Councilman Vilhauer has been nominated. Are there other? Councilman Lallam?
Councilman Holeen, are you on the line?
Yes.
Should be. Just like,
Yes, I'm on the line.
okay. You're willing to serve in that capacity?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You're willing to serve as vice president if elected?
That I was nominated?
You were nominated as vice president, Councilman Holeen.
Yes,
Are you willing
I
to
did hear
serve?
that. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there other nominations? Okay, everyone please vote for either Holeen or Vilhauer. Councilman Holeen is the vice president. Thank you, everyone. All right. Item B is application for a special retail malt beverage and wine license to the Watertown Area Chamber of Commerce from 6 o'clock p.m. on Thursday, July 16, 2020, until 11 o'clock p.m. on Saturday, July 18, 2020, for Cooking on Compesca. And look for a motion on that.
So moved.
I have a motion by Lallam,
Second.
second by Hoyer. And I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone here or online that would like to speak about this item? If so, please state your name.
Mayor, this is Tim Sheet. I'm here just available for questions.
Sure, okay, thank you. Tim Sheehan, the Director of the Chamber of Commerce, is here in case anyone has any questions. Would anyone else like to speak? Then I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And I should have asked Kristen to give us a little introduction to this. Kristen, would you do that now, please?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the standard application for the special malt beverage and wine license that has been done by Cooking on Compesca in the past. No changes other than it's a little bit longer than last time, and Tim can verify, but I think that's to incorporate the Thursday Night Live that's going to be out there before Cooking on Compesca starts.
All right, thank you.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. See, Councilman Roby has his hand up. Councilman Roby?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to recuse myself from this issue.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Have any questions or comments? Councilman Lallam?
Hey, Tim, this is Councilman Lallam here. That Thursday at 6, is that typically the Corks and Kegs event? Is that what that is for?
Nope, that's Thursday Night Live will take place out there as well. We moved it out there. I think this will be our third year to have Thursday Night Live at the lake.
Okay, so that's the Thursday, and then Friday would be the Corks and Cakes and the other, aren't you having a band out there on Friday as well?
and Saturday.
And Saturday. And it's supposed to be done by 6, or what time is it supposed to end?
11 o'clock on Saturday night.
Okay.
11 PM. Yep. All right, thank you. Other questions or comments? Councilman Vilhauer?
Tim, this is Glenn. I know I've asked this question before. Does this allow, where is consumption now allowed out there?
Well, we had, in years past, we had a beer tent that was confined, but 4 or 5 years ago, so we kind of did away with that, because right now beer can be consumed on the entire state, or the entire city park. So that we do have a beer tent with a carding machine, and our beer salespeople are carding people, but it can be consumed all over the park.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Any other questions or comments? Councilman Lallam?
Tim, you have that for the 16th through the 18th, and then you got an alternative 23rd through the 25th. When would you make that determination as to whether you'd have to move it or not?
You know, I think if we had to move Thursday, I would just let Thursday go. But if we had to move Friday and Saturday, we'd probably make that call Friday morning before the band's actually set up and got traveled to Watertown.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, I'll look for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please, Kristen.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Pauline,
Aye.
Lallam,
All right,
Manti,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
Y.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next
Very
item
good,
on
thank
the
you.
agenda is item C, approval of resolution number 20-30, authorizing the execution of contractual documents with the state of South Dakota for the receipts of CARES Act funds to address the COVID-19 public health crisis.
motion to approve.
A motion by Lallam and a second by Rademski. And Kristen, will you please tell us about this one?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Before you is a resolution. I think most of us have heard that the state of South Dakota was awarded the, I think it was close to, I don't know the amount, but they were awarded a large sum, and they've passed that down to the municipalities and the counties. City of Watertown is eligible for a little over $5 million of those funds. To begin the process, we have to kind of go through and pass this resolution, sign the contract. A lot of it details what the use of the money is eligible for, as well as the process to get reimbursement. Once the council has approved the resolution and the agreement, I will send those off to the state, and then I will slowly begin the process of seeking reimbursement. Currently, the biggest one that we have had verification of that we can use the money towards is the cost of the police department personnel. So that's probably the quickest and the easiest way to start, and that's kind of how I plan to submit the reimbursement request. If there's any questions, I can try to answer them. If not, I would appreciate motion to approve.
Okay, Councilman Lallam.
Kristen, is there a time frame on this to utilize that money?
Well, right now the award is only for March through December of 2020. Of course, we would have a little bit probably within that 30 to 60 day window after December to continue your reimbursements, but you would only be eligible for any costs that were encumbered up until December. So
Okay.
that's kind of their cutoff right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilman Vilhauer.
Kristen, do we have any sense of when we can expect reimbursement of the eligible costs?
I don't know that, and I don't know if the state, you know, with a normal grant, it's probably about a 30 to 45 day window. I do anticipate this potentially being a little bit longer, just with the fact that all of us municipalities will probably be turning in our requests. But I would say maybe 60 days at the latest.
Okay.
My goal right now, is being as it went back until March, is to kind of do March and April and May together, and then I'll kind of have a better sense of the time frame.
Another question.
All right, you have another question?
Yeah, and also, Kristen, correct me if I'm mistaken, but First Planning District here in Watertown is kind of acting as what, a facilitator or go-between or whatever you want to call their role to help facilitate this whole process, correct?
That's correct. I think what the state was trying to do when they had the planning district step in is that there's a large number of municipalities and counties, and instead of all of us calling the state and asking the questions, we've kind of been directed to go through the planning district, and then they'll kind of feed our questions through and then hopefully disperse them to their area.
All right, Councilman Lallam?
Kristen, on that, is that going to be a monthly report that we're sending in, or are we going to do it quarterly? How are we doing that?
I think once I get caught up, now that, like I said, I have to go back to March, my goal is to do it every month, just because then the payroll costs are in and we'll get our reimbursement faster. But I will try to play catch up as much as I can for this first couple months.
Yeah, especially if there's a time lag on that. I mean, it's one of those we don't want to wait till the end of the year. So that's what I was just kind of wondering. Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Anyone else? All right, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye and signify by saying nay if you do not approve. And roll call vote, please, Kristen.
Okay. Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Helene,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Manti,
Aye.
Rudensky,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Billhauer,
Aye.
Y.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item D is authorization for the mayor to sign an agreement with the Watertown School District for use of the swimming pool at the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center. A motion by Lallam and a second by Hoyer. Terry Kelly, the Park and Rec Director, is on the line here. Terry, will you please tell us about this?
I can, Mayor. Thank you. Well, I'll start to tell you about it anyway, and I'll probably revert back to Kristen, who handles those contract documents. But this is a long-standing agreement. We met, I believe it was 2 years ago, and we put in just an inflationary factor in the contract, so we didn't have to negotiate annually. But the time has came up for that, just a signature line as far as to keep that contract in place. What it is the school district does their PE swim units at the wellness center, and this carries over from years ago at the old rec center. So, Kristen, if you want to add, or Matt, anything to that?
I don't have anything to add.
I don't have anything to add either.
All right, thank you. So what was the amount last year? Does anybody remember?
I can give you a very close ballpark, Mayor. I believe about 21,000.
Okay.
It started at 20, and then it has a 3%, or not 1.5% inflationary factor.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any questions or comments? Councilman Y?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question, TK, with the whole COVID-19 thing, did they use the pool all of the school year last year? And then what happens if we don't have school? Do they still owe that money, or are things adjusted that way?
Yeah, they're within the contract, they're allotted 100 days of physical education classes. Last year, Josh, was actually the first year ever that we did take that understanding that their second semester, or third and fourth, they did not have an opportunity to use it, so we did not charge. They make 2 payments annually, and we did not charge that second payment because we weren't open. But typically, some years they use, 60 days, the 100. Some years it's more. But this is the first year that we did not require them to make the second payment.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? See none. I will look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please. Kristen?
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Helene,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Manti,
Aye.
Rudensky,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Billhauer,
Aye.
Y.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item E is authorization for the mayor to enter into an executive recruitment consulting contract on behalf of the city with DDA Human Resources, Inc. to assist the city with the process of hiring its first city manager.
So
Motion to
moved.
approve.
Have a motion by Vilhauer and a second by Lallam. And I will ask City Attorney Matt Roby to tell us about this one.
Thank you, Mayor. As the title stated, this is the what you have in front of you is a contract to approve an agreement arrangement with DDA Human Resources out of Minnesota to help us with our executive recruiting to hire a city manager that will start next year at the beginning of July. Just a brief recap of the process that's taken us up to today. In early May, we sent out an RFP for firms, executive recruitment firms, to help us with this process. We received 9 proposals from firms from all over the country, predominantly from the Midwest here, but from all over the country. We had a committee of Councilman Roby, Vilhauer, and Lallam, as well as myself, the mayor, and Human Resources Director, Jelaine Fifley. We vetted out those proposals. We narrowed it down to 4 finalists and did some follow-up with reference checks and that sort of thing. And narrowed it down to DDA. We heard glowing reviews for Liza, who is sitting there in front of you if you're in the council chambers. We heard, like I said, glowing reviews for the firm as a whole. And that, along with kind of the generally local nature of the firm, as well as the fact that they, I believe, have done more city manager searches in the state of Minnesota over the last 5 years than any other firm. So we were all unanimously in support of putting forth DDA Human Resources to act as our consultant for this process. So I would now turn it over to Liza if she had any more to say about her or the firm or anything else she'd like to add.
Yes, please. Liza Donnerbauer. You can take the mask off if you're comfortable with that.
All right. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight to discuss with you the city manager recruitment process. And just to provide a little background for those that are watching tonight, just DDA has been serving our governmental clients for over 20 years, providing finance and management related services. And then most recently, in 2013, we expanded it to the human resource services, so providing everything from compensation classification studies, organizational development studies, and then, as you know, executive search or executive level searches. So that is what I'm here tonight to chat with you about. I think one of the wonderful things about DDA is that we're all former practitioners. So we've either worked in county or city, sometimes both. So we do really truly understand the roles that you have, the pressures that you have. So we're here to alleviate some of that stress as you move into this next chapter of your leadership. So just quite simply, I just wanted to mention that our approach to conducting executive searches is really quite simple. Our focus is finding the right fit for Watertown. And so we want to do that in a timely process. And in the proposal that you've had a chance to take a look at tonight, you'll see that there's a proposed schedule, and it is approximately 4 months long. Part of that is because our advertising alone is 1 month. Part of that is because we're assuming that your candidate, the finalist, will be already in a leadership position elsewhere where they'll have to provide a 30-plus day notice. And then the rest of that is involved with information gathering, the backgrounding process, and then also that interview process. So just to provide a little background again to those that are watching in tonight, the good portion, the front end of the process will be that information gathering piece. So I'll be here in the city spending 1 to 2 days with you, depending on how long you would like to sit and chat with me. I'll meet with each of the council members individually, our leadership team, and any other stakeholders that this council feels is important for me to get a feel for what the community and the organization is all about, because ultimately we're going to provide a profile, a very professional profile to share with anybody that's not familiar with Watertown, South Dakota. Our candidates come from all over the nation, and I think that speaks a lot to the type of candidates that you'll receive here. So we're really excited about that part of it. Part of that information gathering too is just to use as a talking piece when we're talking to potential candidates. It's wonderful to be able to point the candidates to a few pages within that profile that says, you know, these words, these attributes, these goals, these priorities, these projects. This comes straight out of the mouths of the council and your leadership team. So if any of these attributes speak to you, then this is the position you should really consider applying for. And then we also use that information for our screening process. So when we whittle down those applications and forward to you your more qualified candidates, that will be because not only did they meet minimum requirements, because also they met those attributes that you had shared with me during our information gathering process. The City Council, I have several dates within that proposed schedule where I'll come back to you to seek approvals. So those dates will be important as we take a look at a new schedule. Because this process is a 4-month schedule, the search committee, I think, recommends that we move forward with our advertising efforts at the end of January, beginning of February, so that we have somebody in place by beginning to middle of June. Another big piece of this process is the interview process. You as the City Council will help me design what that interview process looks like. If you feel that it's important to involve your public, whether it's a formal or informal process, of course we'll put that into that interview. If you think that it's important to have feedback from your leadership team, management level, maybe even your staff, then we can provide some type of activity where we have their involvement. And then also you are the core piece of that interview process, whether it's individual interviews in addition to a full panel interview. We can talk about that as we move forward in the process. But I am really excited to be able to be here with you as we walk through this next process. This is what I love to do. So I love the engagement piece, not only with getting to know you as the council, getting to know the community, but also getting to know the candidates as we walk down this road together. So I'll take any questions if you have any.
Great, thank you. Matt, did you have a comment to make?
Liza touched on it at the end. I should have mentioned this in my summary that we did discuss today. That it would probably make more sense to begin the search after the first of the year. And so with that, I just want to note, and maybe the original motion maker can make an amended motion that basically giving us the ability to amend the exhibit that's currently attached to the contract to reflect the new timeline, as well as there's a couple pieces of language in the contract that probably need to be amended if we're not going to get going right away.
I will do what he said.
Okay.
As the maker of that motion.
How about the seconder?
I will second that as well.
All right, done. Do we have questions and comments from the council? Councilman Lallam?
Hey, Matt, can you bring that forward maybe at the next council meeting so we can have that in record on that for the updated time frame?
Yes, I will. I'll be in touch with Liza and we'll get that solidified. And if not the next meeting, certainly as soon as it's ready to go.
Liza, a couple quick questions. One of the things we did at a brief meeting, just to kind of discuss a few things that we had come up with. One of the things that we talked about is how important it is for the 10 members of the council to be able to talk with you to kind of put their viewpoint out and what they're looking for in a candidate, because it's the 10 members that really make that decision for our community. One of the things that I'd like to have, maybe you could do as soon as you could, would be kind of put those dates out so that the council would be aware when those dates are and try to figure out if they're going to be around and that they can make themselves available if possible.
Yep.
Councilman Vilhar?
I think it's probably self-explanatory, Liza. First of all, welcome aboard. Looking forward to working with you. And it is you that we will be working with for the most part. I got to say, I'm not sure, did Matt say, I mean, you're only a 3-hour drive from here, St. Bonifacius, and you got ties to Watertown, or ties to the community, or ties to the area. lot of work in the upper Midwest, so those were things that, to me as a member of the little committee, definitely were important. And again, but like Adam said, this is going to be a collaborative effort now on the part of the entire council going forward. So expect input and involvement by everyone in this group over the course of the months coming up now. So again, welcome aboard.
Councilman Lallam?
Yeah, thanks, Liza. Quick follow-up. You're going to put together a bigger group and then narrow it down and then present those approximately how many potential candidates to the council?
The large pool of candidates will whittle it down to what I'd like to say is a reasonable number, and in my mind, it's approximately 12. So those will be who we feel will be the most qualified or who we feel may be potentially a good fit. Then we'll gather information from those candidates. So they'll conduct video interviews, work personality strength, it's like a strength finders test or an index, and then the resume and cover letter. You as a complete council will see all that information for each of those semifinalists, review that information approximately 1 week before that council meeting where I come before you, and I'll walk you through the process to whittle it down to approximately 4 to 6 finalists who you would like to get to know better in a final interview stage.
And that 4 to 6 is the reason for the 4 to 6?
The reason for the 4 to 6, by the time we come to interview day, 1 to 2 finalists, it typically happens where 1 to 2 may decide that they're either no longer interested in the position because a family has changed their mind or they've been offered a position elsewhere. So we just want to make sure that you have a good number there at interview day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Anyone else with questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please, Kristen.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Manti,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Billhauer,
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And Liza, thank you so much for making the trip to be here in person. It was a pleasure meeting you. Yes, thank you. Item F is council authorization for the mayor to sign the Stormwater Best Management Practice Maintenance/Development Agreement for Williston Edition.
So moved.
Have a motion by Vilhauer. Second by Rademski, and I'd like our Public Works Director, Heath Von Eye, to tell us about this one, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. This is a routine, what I'd call routine best management practices maintenance agreement. As council may recall, this is a requirement in our development process where any commercial or industrial type of development that are required to construct a detention pond or a stormwater maintenance facility, otherwise known as a BMP, which is an acronym for Best Management Practice. It's a way for them to mitigate stormwater runoff from their site. And this particular agreement is with the Williston Edition. And as you recall, we recently reviewed some documents regarding that development for some storage units out off the southwest side of the lake. I'll again share my screen here for context on the location. And here we are on the southwest side of the lake. The state campground Sandy Shores is located right here. And over here on the west side of North Lake Drive, or the old highway, is the existing storage units, and then the ones that are in construction right now. And the detention area for these, I believe, falls down here. I've got that document as well. So on this diagram, north is to the right. You'll see the existing storage units on the right-hand side of the page here. This is old South Dakota Highway 39, north/South Lake Drive, depending on which direction you're going to turn here. And then the new units, and this is the detention area that's in reference that this agreement is related to. And generally speaking, the agreement requires the landowner to maintain the detention pond, the BMP, keep it in a maintainable fashion so that everything functions according to the design. It requires them to build it according to the design. It subsequently allows the city access to the facility if we need to come in and perform maintenance because the owner has been negligent in that requirement. And it's got all those safety factors incorporated into the agreement as our standard template language related to BMP maintenance. And in a nutshell, that's the agreement. I'd be glad to help answer any questions the council might have.
All right, thank you, Heath. Council members, any questions? Councilman Vilhauer?
Heath, I assume the developer is aware of this agreement?
That's correct.
Okay.
Good question. Any others? All right, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please. Kristen?
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Helene,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Manti,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
Y.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item G is approval of insurance policies and authorization for payment for premiums for general liability, auto liability, and physical damage, law enforcement liability, buildings and contents, equipment property damage, and equipment breakdown, boiler and machinery coverage.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Lallam and second by Rademski. Kristen, will you please tell us about this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It is the insurance renewal time. This happens every year, right around August is when the premium is due. This will be a special check that we cut. I'll go over just a few things. There wasn't a lot of changes. All in all, it was close to a $20,000 increase from last year's premium, a little right around 5% increase for the city's portion. I did reach out to South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance and see if they could break down a little bit of what made up for that increase. One of the big changes was the payroll reported a little over a 5% increase, which that's factored into the general liability. Another thing that was probably a little bit of the significance was the property coverage. There was a 2020 rate increase and then the 3% standard inflation that we see. Other than that, we didn't really add a lot of other equipment or any big pieces of property. So it was pretty much between the payroll and then that inflation of the property that we're seeing. I do want to point out too that this was sent to municipal utilities to have them review, and they looked at it and they are in agreement as well. If there's any further questions, I can try to answer them.
Thank you. Councilman Vilhauer?
Kristen, have one question. With that big settlement that we got a couple years ago from the hail damage, we lost our, was it the loss ratio credit? Because I see that's 0 1. We lose that for what, 3 years?
3 years, yep.
So we will start to get that back within the next year or two, correct?
Yes, pending no other large.
Okay.
Yes.
Assuming that, yeah.
Yeah, assuming that, yes, we should be seeing our loss ratio credit come back.
Good question. Others? Seeing none, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Kristen?
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Helene,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Manti,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
Why?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Item H is review of the continued necessity of resolution number 20-15, declaring an emergency concerning the pandemic outbreak of the novel coronavirus COVID-19 and providing for responsive measures related to the operations of the city and the protection of public health. And I won't ask for a motion yet, but I will ask the attorney, Matt Roby, to just give a little brief introduction.
Thank you, Mayor. As you'll recall, this is the resolution that was passed initially. I believe it was late March, and has since been on the agenda every week. There was some modifications week over week to the buildings, the city buildings that were open to the public, and that culminated in the removal of that section recently. So now, essentially, the opening of the public buildings is left to the discretion of the mayor. Per the council's direction. So the remaining clauses in that resolution, it still declares that we're under an emergency because of COVID-19, gives the mayor the ability to make emergency arrangements for personnel under the personnel policy. It gives the mayor the ability to institute measures on a short notice if something in the, relating to the pandemic requires. And that's the general gist of it.
Okay, thank you. So we bring this up every meeting just to see if anyone wants to modify it. Do we have any suggested changes? Councilman Lallam?
I don't have a change to it. One of the things, I've had a few people that reached out to us about the increasing in cases in our community, which I guess I knew was going to happen just with the amount of people that are out and about and things of that nature. I wouldn't recommend that they wear masks if they're going to go out if possible. But it's in talking with a few of the health experts, they also agree that getting outside and getting sun and some of that is a benefit as well. So just to make sure people are being safe and smart when they're out and about.
Right. Our numbers are now higher than they ever have been before, but they're still relatively small. And our healthcare facilities are not being taxed. So we have, I believe, 3 patients hospitalized with COVID at this time. We've had as many as 4 at one time. That's a very small percentage of our healthcare capacity. We have no one on a ventilator right now, and we've only had 1 person at a time on a ventilator. So we haven't really even taxed our healthcare capacity. And if we started to fill up our hospital beds, then that might be troublesome, and that might call for some modification on the resolution. But at this time, what we're doing seems to be working, and it's really important for people to continue to maintain that social distance of at least 6 feet. And if you can't do that, wear a mask.
Mayor, of those 3, and if you can't answer that, I understand, but are those Cottington County residents, or are they just 3 people?
Our hospital service area contains 9 counties, so I have no idea who they are or where they're from, but they're probably from one of those 9 counties. Not necessarily, though. Yes, Councilman Vilhauer?
You track this fairly closely on a daily basis, I'm sure, or at least I know you do. I know we have, 31 or 32 active cases in Cottington County. What about our service area as far as active cases?
Yeah, I was just trying to bring it up, and I can't get into the server, but I think we're at 80 some.
Active cases in the area?
In the 9 counties. I could be wrong about that. Sorry, I can't answer that right now, but this is a new high for us, but it's still not a problem for our healthcare facilities. We knew these numbers would go up, and it's predictable with everyone getting together for 4th of July events. We'll see those numbers go up even more, and just try to be responsible for your own behavior. Anyone else?
Mayor?
Yes.
I was just going to fill you in there. There's currently 61 active cases in our region.
Thank you. 61, I was high. So it's about little more than half of them are from Cottington County, and the rest from 8 other counties. All right. Anyone else want to add anything? So we don't need to take any action on this unless someone wants to modify that resolution. Not seeing anyone, so we will go ahead and move on. The last item in the regular agenda is acceptance of bids for the golf course greens, Blue 1, Blue 2, Red 8 replacement project. And this was discussed at the committee meeting just prior, and it did not pass as a recommendation to approve those bids. So I will again call upon the Park and Rec Director, Terry Kelly, to give a little bit of a summary of that discussion and the bids before we
Okay,
take a
thank you,
motion.
Mayor. Again, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, as you know, in the previous meeting, we did discuss the bid opening from July 2nd. We felt, well, I'll turn back a little bit. When we first opened, we really had a good conversation on whether we should move forward with this project and push our budget to the max and find alternate dollars. That decision, the people that were in that meeting was myself, Todd Walker, our golf course superintendent, President Shriver of our board, and our consultant, Kevin Norby from Norby Golf Architects. So I did talk with Kristen today, and all said and done, from the base bid and taking on the deduct alternates, we were still looking at about $16,000 short of what we had in the budget for golf course improvements. And through our consultant, they did basically say that the bidders did openly admit that their workload is heavy. We did not get the most favorable bid. So we felt ultimately the bids were not competitive, and we feel we can get a much better price if we bid that this winter and carry those funds over. So the recommendation at the Finance Committee, and hopefully the council carries it to the full council here, a recommendation to not approve and go ahead and go to bid here in 2021. And I'd entertain any questions on that.
Thank you, Terry.
I'd make a motion to reject the bid.
Okay, we have a motion to reject the bids from Councilman Lallam. We have a second from Councilman Rademski. Is there further discussion from anyone? No discussion, then I will look for action. All those in favor of rejecting the bids signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please, Kristen.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Hoyer,
Aye.
Mullane,
Aye.
Lallam,
Aye.
Manti,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Vilhauer,
Aye.
Y.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is old business. Do we have any old business? I'm looking, I'm figuring.
Sir, it's Don.
Okay, Councilman Roby?
I asked if Heath would show a quick diagram or two with where we're at on the improvements on Cherry Creek. Keith, could I have you do that briefly? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Roby. I will pull up with some documents here that I've got in relation to the Cherry Creek drainage work that we're looking at doing. The first document here is the application to the Army Corps of Engineers for the regrading within what we found out to be a linear wetland. It's a designated wetland. It's a linear wetland is what they call this type because it runs along the length of the flow of that drainage channel. So this application went to the Corps of Engineers, as we've discussed before, back in January. And then I believe it was in February or early March, we got indication back from the Corps that they approved our regrading plans and gave us a permit. We fall underneath what they call our general permit. for these grading activities. So I wanted to share that document. The other document I wanted to share was the actual grading plans that we've worked with Austin Engineering on. Austin has created these in conjunction with the development to the north. This is, you got to kind of use your imagination here, but Cherry Drive is would be along the southeast corner of this drawing where my cursor is. These are the pipes, the drainage pipes that lead out underneath Cherry Drive and collect a lot of the storm water and some of these Eastwoods and Prairie View, I believe it is, subdivisions to the east. And that drains out into this drainage way and runs west and then south through the city's property. These are the lots of the homeowners that we've heard from that have concerns about this existing drainage channel. You'll see on here, it's labeled existing drainage channel, and it's this more of a solid gray line configuration on where the existing channel lies. The reason I point that out is because on our plans, what we're trying to do is for this pink line, this is the proposed channel center line. We plan to move that a little bit to the north, and then it would be regraded for approximately 800 feet. And I'll pan to the left here. So from that outlet all the way downstream, we had to go about that far, about 800 feet, in order to get a consistent minimum slope for that, what we call an earthen channel, a natural channel. And so anyway, the grading plans are compiled. The biggest thing we've been waiting for here is the pending development to the north. Let me try to zoom in a little bit here. On this vicinity map, this is the grading area. This is 14th Avenue. And as you recall, there was some condos or twin homes that were going to go in as a private development here to the north. What made most sense to staff is that we coordinate our grading project with their grading project. Now, and that's why this has been stalled here for a couple months. We've been holding out, waiting on the developer to see what they're going to do with this project. It appears right now that this is far enough down the line, or the pause button has been hit for an amount of time that we feel it's appropriate to go ahead and proceed with bidding or quoting this work out on our own to go ahead and get this drainage regraded here yet this construction season. So that's our plan. Staff is working on putting together a request for quotes. The bid laws just changed here recently, July 1st. We anticipate this will come in under $100,000, which negates the need to bid it, but we do still want to get at least 2, if not 3 or 4 quotes for this work. So we're looking at procuring quotes and moving forward with the construction as a standalone project with city funds at this point.
All right, thank you. Is any of the grading going to take place on the private property? Or will it all be on the city property?
Yeah, that's, if we're moving forward without the developer, those logistics have to be worked out yet. The developer had interest in receiving whatever waste material we have to use for fill on their lot. We don't have an agreement with them to do that. And we also think that it might be negligible enough to where we just waste the graded material off on our own property, short of having an agreement. Because I think where you're going here, Mayor, is we would definitely want to make sure we have some kind of agreement in place with the developer if we're either grading on their lot or if we're wasting our material onto their lot for them to use as fill. So at this point, we're going to try to avoid any of that if we can, just to keep it a standalone city project. If conversations with the developer evolve into still wanting to do that, I of course would bring an agreement forward to the council for consideration before allowing that to happen on the contractor side.
Right, thank you. And when we were doing this originally as a shared project, they needed to grade their property, we needed to grade ours. We'll just do it together as one project. We don't want to create a problem on the drainage on their property if we've, modified our grade, so just want to make sure we're okay there. Any other comments about this? Was that satisfactory, Councilman Roby?
Updates appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Did
thanks,
Councilman
Heath.
Albertson have a question?
Yes, Councilman Albertson, did you have something?
I don't know if Terry Kelly is still on, but I was going to ask him if he'd give a little update on that park for disabled. Oh, there he is. So Terry, would you give a little update on where we are with the things that you've told me about that, the ADA park for disabled people, please?
Absolutely. We are in the final draft of the design work for our first park. And what that would be is that's taking an existing park, putting a footprint in that makes it an all access. It would be a shared park with a traditional, and it would be inclusive, which they refer to as the ADA accessible. This is our first goal this year would be to get that done. We did budget, I want to say 62,000 in 2021 as a backup. And I want to kind of say that is a backup. Our goal is to have a shovel in the ground in 2020. Working with Councilman Albertson, who has been doing a great job with some private fundraising. I've got one grant request in for another 10,000, working with local service organizations. And on top of that, considering our park improvement fund dollars that currently sits right around 100,000 that we have sitting in that restricted fund, which would just need to go to the Park and Rec Board to allocate towards this project. So I hope within probably a week or two, we have a final, basically a final pricing, a final layout. And it's not strictly any types of equipment. It gives examples, but then what I would do is work with the Optimist Club, who's wanted to put 2 pieces of equipment, things like that, develop a small committee to say, okay, here's the pieces of apparatuses we want in the park. So I think within a month's time, we'll have our final numbers, our location established, and be able to move forward with a late summer, early fall construction. And with these, so the council's aware, these require a concrete decking. If you've been to our parks, you'll see typically wood chips. Obviously, when you're doing accessibility, you need a hard surface. It's got a rubber coat. So that's probably been the biggest hurdle I've had, is coming up with local contractors that have enough time to give me a quote on that footprint. And the nice thing about the footprint is, you know, whether it's a Belmont, a Harper, a Morningside, we can take this footprint and drop it into any park. And then moving forward, you know, within the budget, we hope annually we can start incorporating the ADA accessibility in all of our playgrounds. But to Councilman Albertson's question, is behind the scenes, we're moving pretty quick on this, and we may come forward to the council to approve those restricted funds expenditures. So Dan, and you've worked closely with me, if you want to add in too on your end, kind of what you've been working on.
No, thank you. I think you've covered that very well, so I appreciate it.
Okay. No, it's going to be a great project and well appreciated. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Heath, did you have something to say?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Just another point of discussion on our old business. We found out today that the pathway along 21st Street has been a point of question for quite some time now. That was removed in late 2018 and not been rebuilt back, not been reconstructed all throughout last season, and so far yet this season. The reason for that is we were having to wait for the FAA to sign off on a plat that formalized and corrected some of the airport property nuances that they wanted to see cleaned up. Some of those nuances were the fact that streets were running through airport property without the appropriate right-of-way. We didn't have either right-of-way or access easements, and a bunch of other logistics like that the FAA wanted us to touch up. And so anyway, long story short, the removal of that pathway happened unbeknownst to the time it would take to get this plat approval to relocate the pathway up out of the ditch. We now have the plat approval and are looking forward to getting that pathway reconstructed here. I believe our contractor's earliest availability was the 1st of August. So I wanted to report that back to the council, let them know that you should see some activity out there, getting that pathway reconstructed along 21st Street.
Excellent. That's well needed. Councilman Vilhar?
Heath, thanks for that good news and that update. Just want to clarify, that does then take it up to 3rd Avenue? That is the plan?
I believe so. Terry, can you confirm that off the top of your head?
Yep, I can confirm that. That does get connectivity to Third Avenue by Foundation.
Okay, great, thanks.
So it connects up with the path at 4th Avenue South, goes north and south from 4th Avenue South to 3rd Avenue North. And that's been a link that we've had missing for some time, so this is good. Thank you for that. I do have a piece of old business I'd like to talk about. The council recently approved 2 fireworks permits for celebrations, one on the 3rd and one on the 4th, both privately funded, and Councilman Lallam and Hoyer worked on the one on the 3rd and have heard lots of wonderful things about both of those, and what a fantastic thing to do for our community. That we couldn't do the event we normally do with social distance requirements. So what we did was even better from a fireworks standpoint, 2 days of it. And thank you for your work on that. And thank you to all the sponsors for helping the community celebrate in this way. That was really a wonderful gift. Councilman Hoyer?
Mayor, with that, I'd like to just tie into a big thank you to Tim Sheehan and a lot of the assistance that he gave Councilman Lallam and I during that 3rd event. Couldn't have done it without a lot of those useful tips and who to talk to. So thank you to Tim.
Right. Thanks, Tim. Councilman Lallam?
I honestly got to give most of that credit to Dan out at Loose Fireworks. They put on a fantastic display. I met with Dan a couple different times. I was out there during the event. They're actually excited, the hope that they can do at Anza for years to come. They said they can actually do bigger shells, they can do bigger events. I was out there for that display. There was people, they were not all congregated together. So I think people took that, keeping, separate to heart.
Yeah.
And we were out there at, I think 9, and I think the gun range was completely full. And I think Anza was the one that actually had the most parking available.
Oh.
Because I think everyone parked at the softball and at several other locations as well.
Well, I heard you could see it from the lake,
Yeah,
which
it
is
was-
pretty
it was a good
amazing.
show.
That's on the opposite side of town, miles and miles away. So good job, you guys. That was awesome. Is there other old business? Is there any new business? I will say I plan to make the same appointments that we had before for council committee assignments. And I asked the council members if they wanted to switch around, and everybody seems good with their spot. And if that changes, you can always come to me and let me know, but otherwise, the same committee assignments, we'll just keep going with that. Thank you for doing that. And are there any liaison member reports? Councilman Vilhauer?
Yes, I've got 2 things to report from the Utilities Department. First one is a week before last, I reached out to staff and part of their board and requested a joint meeting between their board and our council, just to get to know each other better, talk about community involvement, cooperation, et cetera. I have not gotten a response back from them at this point yet, but I'll continue to work at trying to put that meeting together. And secondly, at the meeting last Monday, they are refinancing their water loan, and that new financing rate is 1.62%. And I'm going to use this as a segue, Kristen. I know you've been looking at some options as far as us as a city potentially refinancing some of our bonds out there. Do you have anything that you can share at this point as far as what you've been doing?
Thank you, Glenn. We currently are kind of in just the waiting period. Ours will start to get a closer process more in August, September, when we're closer to our call date. I will be probably bringing forward another resolution that has a little bit of a change to it, but we are still working behind the scenes to hopefully the rates stay good. And as we get closer to our call date, we can go ahead and proceed. So.
All right.
Thanks, Kristen.
Good deal. Is there any other liaison member report to give? Anyone? All right, any announcements? None. Okay, well, the next item on the agenda is executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2, and we will have an executive session this evening in order to discuss and consult with legal counsel on contractual matters and as well as some confidential financial information for economic development purposes. We do not expect to take action on coming out, but I look for a motion for that. A motion by Lallam and a second by Rademski. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Roll call vote, please, Kristen.
Albertson,
Aye.
Bueller,
Aye.
Boyer,
Aye.
Pauline. Okay. Lallam,
Aye.
Manti,
Aye.
Rademski,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Billhauer,
Aye.
Y.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you.